Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, my lovely friends and students. How is everyone today? I hope you are all doing well, and as always, so excited to have you for today's Smrt lesson. Let me click over to the comments. All right, just want to make sure, as always, everyone can hear and see me. All right, let me know over in the comment section. And it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful to see all of our regular viewers and friends, and then some extra and new faces. So welcome to Smrt Live. This is pre-intermediate English with me, Miss Abby, and I'm coming to you live from SCEL, which is the Spokane College of English Language. So, all right, I have the thumbs up that sound is good. Thank you, Leo. Wonderful. Hi, Mr. Steve. Glad to have you. Bahrat, and as always, my apologies if and when I mispronounce names. Thank you so very much for being gracious and kind if I mispronounced your name. I don't mean to. Great. Okay, so it looks like once more we have a lot of our wonderful regular viewers for the Smrt Live class, and then always excited to have new students join. If you are watching this live, please be aware, just know that I have our live stream comments that are always going. So when you see me look over to my left, which would be your right, I'm checking our screen broadcast. And then, of course, in the same way, if you are watching this class after it has posted, once more, you'll notice that I look over to the side screen, and that's just where our live chat feed is. And I'm always trying to make sure I get to the wonderful comments and really great questions that students always have. But in like ways to names, if I'm not able to get to all of your comments or questions, my apologies. We have our lesson going, and then once more our stream. So with as quick as it runs, I'm sorry if I don't always get to the comments or questions. With that, it's a great reason if you would be interested, if you would like more in-depth conversation with me and more work within the Smrt curriculum, you can always become a premium subscriber. Scroll down to the bottom of the page after this video has posted to find out more. And while you are there, give me a thumbs up. Well, if you like the lesson, give me a thumbs up. If not, don't give me a thumbs down, but please leave a comment. Leave a comment, and I try my best to go back through the classes and any questions that are posted, on the YouTube video. I try to answer those, and or, as I'm going to be doing here in a moment for my wonderful friend Nandish, doing a quick review if I find that there's a couple students that had questions or were unclear about a particular subject matter. Oh, Bahra, I'm so glad to hear that I pronounced your name right. What a great name. And that's another thing. I love looking at all our friends, all the students from literally all around the world, and where you're from, and the wonderful names. I just love all the beautiful names, like once more, from all around the world. But with that, again, I'm sorry if I ever pronounce anything right, but Bahra, I'm glad I got it right on the first try. So with that, oh, thank you, Mr. Nandish. Even before the video, even before this lesson's done, he said, I'll give you the thumbs up. Thank you. I appreciate that, my friend. And with that, Mr. Nandish, I want to go over and try to hopefully answer your question that you posted at the last video and just do a quick review. So once more, checking in our comment section. All right. And also, if you ever have any questions and I'm not able to get to them, you can always go back and rewatch the videos. A lot of times, as will often happen, when we're doing it live and when you're watching the video as it's going, there's so much information and there's so much great stuff included in the Smrt curriculum that oftentimes it's really helpful to watch it for a second time and pick up any of that information that you didn't get in the original broadcast. So with that, give me one moment. I'll hop over to my green screen. All right. Perfect. There we go. All right, so this is for you, my wonderful friend Nandish. So just a quick review on our indefinite articles, and that is or a, and some. So to your question, Mr. Nandish, if I understood it correctly as you posted it in one of our former videos, you are wondering when we use and when we use a. So quick review, we use or a before our consonants. So there's, of course, our list of our consonants, and then our examples: a bear, a table, a phone, a song, a man. And we use an in front of our vowels. So an umbrella, an English teacher, an apple, an egg, an inch. But because English has to be a little bit crazy, here's a great example of when it doesn't always make sense, and that just comes down to reviewing and memorization. So just memorizing the rules. Our example here for, again, how English is a little bit crazy. Although we know that we use a in front of our consonants and an in front of our vowels, there is an exception, and that is when a word starts with a consonant but has the sound of a vowel. Our example here, we use an before our because the H is not pronounced, or we would say the H is silent. So it's pronounced our, just like our class, our time together, but we're talking about hour as in a length of time, which our word starts with an H, but once more, the H is silent. You don't pronounce it. So with that, even though it starts with a consonant, it has the sound of a vowel, so we would use an in that situation. Once more, our example: an hour, an honest person. It is an honor to have you all in class and have you join me for Smrt Live. So again, just in quick review, a or a used before consonants, words that start in consonants, and we use before words that start with vowels, or words that start with consonants but sound like they start with vowels. Our example once more: hour starts with an H, but it sounds like our, O-U-R. So, Mr. Nandish, I hope that answered your question. If not, go ahead and post it again at the end of this video, but just a quick review that hopefully was helpful for our class at large. And we are going to jump into today's lesson. All right, as promised, today we are going over every, all, most, both, and so on. That ETC is short for etc., which just means and so on, or in addition. It's showing that not only is there the list that we just gave, every, all, most, both, the etc. means and in addition. So whatever else we have there. Every, all, most, both. Our example: my dog is pretty old. He sleeps all day, every day. So there we go. He sleeps all day. So the complete day, every day. So that means every single day. And I'm kind of jealous of this dog. I woke up at 3:30 this morning and I could not go back to sleep. And I don't know if that ever happens to you, my wonderful students and friends, that you'll wake up and even though I still have a couple hours to sleep, I'm awake. I can't go back to sleep. So I have been up since 3:30 this morning. And speaking of time, yes, we had daylight savings in the United States last weekend. So on Sunday, 2 days ago, which is always interesting because at least it takes me about a day to remember and change all my clocks around my house or in my car. So with that, speaking of sleep and time, I'm kind of jealous of this dog because he gets to sleep all day, every day, and I've already been up for 4 hours. But that's fine. It's wonderful. I have my coffee. I'm a wonderful class, and we will continue on. So every is used only with singular countable nouns and verbs. Looking at our example, every student has a computer. So that means all the students, every single one, every student has a computer. Second example, every house looks the same. So with that, we have every student, that is our singular countable noun, has, which is our singular countable verb, a computer. Moving over to our second example, every house looks the same. So every, and then house, that is our singular countable noun, looks, which is our singular countable verb, the same. Every house looks the same. So that means all the houses that we see in our picture, they might be different colors, there might be a few tiny differences, but overall, every house looks the same. So that's when we use every, when we're talking about singular, countable nouns and verbs. Of course, quick review, nouns, people, place, thing, verbs are action words. Continuing on, we can say everybody, everyone, everything, and everywhere. Now please make note with those words, they're together. It's not every space body or every space one. Put those words together so it's just one word. Once more, we say everybody, everyone, everything, and everywhere. And these words also take singular verbs. Looking at our examples, everyone or everybody, you can use everyone and everybody interchangeably. So everyone or everybody is here. Middle example, in Canada, everywhere is cold in winter. So that means on the east coast of Canada, on the west coast of Canada, in the middle of Canada, all of Canada. In Canada, everywhere is cold in winter. And our third example, everything. So every single thing we see in our picture, every piece of clothing, every piece of jewelry, anything and everything. Everything costs a lot in this store. So of course that means that the whole store at large and all that it sells, everything costs a lot, right? So once more, we say everybody, everyone, everything, and everywhere. And these, of course, take singular verbs. Give me one moment, gonna check over in our comments and questions. Oh, Ella says everyone, everybody wants happiness, or everyone wants happiness. That's very true. There's so many great cultures and traditions all over the world, but it's definitely been my experience in the times I've been able to travel, and then, of course, also having wonderful students from all over the world, that truly I learn as much sometimes from them as they learn from me, because I'm so interested and curious in the cultures and traditions and the places that my students come from. So with that, of course, there's so much diversity, so different things in the world. But there's also a lot of things that are common, that are the same with all people everywhere. And you are exactly right, Ella. Everyone or everybody wants happiness. Doesn't matter where you're at in the world. It's something we all share, right? Great. Okay, continuing down. Okay, all. So all can be used with plural countable nouns. And in this usage, it has the same meaning as every. Okay? So every is with our singular countable nouns and verbs. All, in the same way, is used, but it's used when we have our plural countable nouns. But with that, it has the same meaning as every. Okay? It means in total. So let's make note and notice the differences. So our example, every student has a computer. In the same way, if I was using all, I would say all students have a computer. Second example, every house looks the same. All houses look the same. So in both ways, whether I'm using every or I'm using all, it means the same thing. It means in total, okay? In collective. Everything put together, when I look at everything or I make note of everything, it's all the same. Everything is the same, right? Continuing on. All can also be used with uncountable nouns. Our example, oh my, and I absolutely disagree with this woman in our first example, and it almost hurts my heart to even read it because I absolutely love coffee. I love coffee. That's another thing that I've noticed traveling, that there's so many different cultures, but most cultures, at least that I've experienced, we all share a love for coffee. And of course, there's different kinds of coffee. And my Colombian and Brazilian students, or many of my students from Central and South America, where it's very popular for America to buy our coffee from. So in Central and South America, we know that a lot of coffee and a lot of really good coffee is grown there. And of course, jokingly and in a very friendly way, usually it's been my Colombian and Brazilian students argue over which country makes the best coffee. So with that, I can hardly even say this for our example because I absolutely disagree. But our first example is, I hate all coffee. Maybe this person enjoys tea and not coffee. So she's saying, I hate all coffee. It doesn't matter where it's from. It doesn't matter what it tastes like. It doesn't matter sugar, cream, whatever. I hate it. I hate all coffee. In a similar way, but opposite, so similar because I'm talking about all, just the opposite of hate, I love all coffee. Looking at our second example, all music makes me happy. So this young lady, she's listening to music on her phone, and all of it, every single song, every single artist or musician, all music makes her happy. All music makes me happy. Give me one moment. I'm going to check over in our comment section. Yes, you are absolutely right. India also produces a lot of great coffee. Oh, JB says, I love cappuccino. Yes, within coffee, of course, it's not just coffee. There's so many kinds of coffee, espresso, cappuccino, and then, of course, in America, you can get that iced, so cold. There's absolutely an art to really good coffee. All right. Rosa says, may I ask the difference between every day, and every day? So that would be the same. Every day just means every single day. So not one day and then skip a day and another day. Every day, every single day. So those would mean the same. My wonderful friend Nora. All right. Great. Okay, continuing on. All can also be used with singular nouns. So all plus our singular noun means all of one thing. So once more, collectively, put it all together, all of it, every single thing. So all plus our singular noun means all of one thing. Our examples, I couldn't sleep all night last night. Well, I wasn't quite that bad. I did get quite a few hours sleep, even though I woke up at 3:30 in the morning. So I did get a little bit of sleep, but I'm sure we've all had times as well. I don't know why it happens, but sometimes you don't sleep at all, or you have a hard time falling asleep. And then the next morning when you're feeling tired and you need your coffee, say, I couldn't sleep all night last night. Second example, and I'm so excited that spring is coming here to wonderful Spokane because I enjoy our winters. We have snow and it's always so beautiful, but by the time winter is ending and spring is starting to come our way, I'm getting a little bit tired of the snow. I'm ready for the sun. And this last weekend in Spokane was absolutely gorgeous. We had sun all weekend and I was very happy to be able to be outside and get some yard work done. I wish I could do that every day, because it was lovely and sunny this last weekend. It was sunny all day yesterday. So that means the entire day, from morning to evening. As long as the sun was out, it was sunny all day yesterday. So once more, that means collectively, in total. All right. Now, notice the differences with every. My dog sleeps on my bed every night. So it means every single night without fail. Last night, the night before, the nights before that, tonight, my dog sleeps on my bed every night. My dogs, and I've talked about my dogs before, they're like my children, kind of. Every night when I read before I go to bed, I enjoy having the dogs as company. I allow them to be up on the bed with me every night, but they snore too loud. You know what snoring is? Snoring is that noise that people or animals make when they're asleep. So my dogs snore too much. So while I'm awake and I'm reading every night, they stay with me, but when it's time to go to sleep, they have to go to their own beds. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to sleep all night. Okay. Looking at our second example with every. I work every day, Monday to Friday, from 9 to 5. Of course, that would be 9 a.m. in the morning to 5 p.m. in the evening. So I work every day, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. In like way, we would say, my dog slept on my bed all night. So that means from the time night started to the time night ended and it became morning, my dog slept on my bed all night. Second and last example there, I will be in the office all day tomorrow from 9 to 5. And notice that this person's giving a qualifier or letting you know it's not all day from morning to night, it's all day within the hours of 9 to 5. Now, there are many different types of learning styles. One is auditory, so that means you learn best by hearing. One is a big fancy word that you don't need to know, but it's called kinesthetic, and that means you learn best with hands-on, actually doing something. So hopefully, of course, after our lessons, you go and practice and review and practice saying our vocabulary words on your own. And another way that people learn is visual. So for my visual learners, here you go. I'll give you a moment to take a look at those pictures that show and represent what we're talking about with all, most, some, etc. So our first example is all. So that means in total, every single thing, every single person, every single whatever it is we're talking about. So there's all. Our second picture, most. So it not in total, not entirely, not every single one or all of something, but most of it. Okay? Most of it. And then moving on to our third, some. Okay? So most and some, those are uncountable. I'm not saying exactly how much most is, and I'm not saying exactly how much some is, but in both ways it's showing that it's not completely all. So most and some, most is higher, some would be lower. And then our last one, none, no, or not any. So any, all, not. It's the negation. It means just the opposite. So I'll give you one more quick moment. I'll check over in the comment box. And if you are a visual learner, here is a great example and a great layout of all, most, some, and then also no or not. So the negation. Give me 1 minute. All right. Great. Okay, continuing on. So our first picture there in our example, my sister loves all animals. Or I could also say my sister loves every animal. So that means there's not a single animal, there is no animal that my sister doesn't love. My sister loves all animals. I would say in a like way, all the animals that I've met so far, I love all animals. But I've not been to Africa as we see in our second picture, so I need to go meet those animals as well because I love all animals and I would love to meet and actually see in person all the animals, all the amazing animals that we have on Earth. So our second example, we see what are called giraffes. So those are the ones with the long necks. And then the smaller friends there to the giraffes that look like horses, but with really cool stripes. Those we call zebras, right? So most animals have legs. And if you guys can think of any animals that don't have legs, I would be interested to know, because as I was looking over our lesson, thinking, I thought all animals have legs. But maybe we're talking about insects, because snakes, although snakes are not technically animals, they're reptiles, snakes don't have legs. But if there's any other animals you can think of, my wonderful and very, very intelligent and smart students, put it over in the comment box. Because as far as I know, almost all animals have legs, unless we're including reptiles like snakes. But our example is most animals have legs. Third example, and this is called an owl. So it's kind of a type of bird, but owls, as you can see in our picture, and if you've ever seen one in real life or maybe in a zoo or even a museum, okay? This is an owl, and this is true that some animals sleep during the day. And if it wasn't for my coffee, my very wonderful and precious coffee, I would want to sleep all day today, since I've been up for hours already. But my coffee gives me energy, and really and truly being here in class and having you all here in class, that also gives me energy as well. So so Nora asked, aren't reptiles a type of animal? So reptiles, let me think of this answer real quick. The animal kingdom at large is broken up into different species. So that I think reptiles are kind of their own species, and animals, we have our warm-blooded animals and then our cold-blooded, which would include reptiles. So you know what, Nora? That is such a great question. And because I teach English and not science, I'm not exactly sure, but I am going to make a note for myself, and I will have your answer next week. So concerning reptiles and if they are considered animals. I'm an English teacher, not a scientist, so I'm going to have to go look that up. And wonderful, wonderful question, Miss Nora. Thanks. All right. And Jimmy made the comment or the observation, all sentences start with capital letters and finish with a period. Absolutely. They can also finish with an exclamation mark if we're showing excitement, or if we're showing that when we say it, we would raise our voice. Then I would finish that sentence if I was writing it with an exclamation point. If you're showing excitement or really, really want to show a point. And in a like way, you don't have to just end with a period. You can end with an exclamation point, or if you're asking a question, then of course you use the question mark, and that shows whoever is reading your sentence or reading your writing or your text message or your email or any other number of ways that we communicate by writing. That question mark instead of a period or instead of an exclamation point lets them know that you are in fact asking a question. But yes, sentences in English always start with a capital, so big letter. Great observation and comment, Mr. Jimmy. I do thank you. Oh, and Baharat, I'm so glad that you're joining us for class today, and I certainly hope you'll be able to join us in the future. Mammals who give birth to their babies. Yeah, so mammals are animals, of course, but they are animals who give birth to their babies instead of like birds. Birds lay eggs, or chickens lay eggs. which is very important because as we finish this and hop over to our vocabulary, we know that our vocabulary for this unit largely deals with nature and the natural world. So talking about the different kinds of animals and mammals, which are animals that actually give birth to their babies instead of hatching them. So hatching them from an egg, like a bird, like a chicken. Great comment, great observation. I thank you so much, Baharat. Okay, and then our last example. There are no, or there aren't, there are not. There are no animals on the moon that we know of. But I'm sure science says no animals on the moon, so I'll listen to them since, again, I'm an English teacher, not a scientist. So we can say with certainty that there are no animals on the moon, or there are not any animals on the moon. They're just here on Earth. All right, continuing on with both, either, or neither. So again, both, either, or neither. What am I talking about? Let's continue on. These are determiners, and these determiners are used to talk about two things or two people. So if it's both A and B, and in English, when we're showing two different things but that are unnamed or unmarked, we would say A and B, right? So we're just showing that A is one thing, B is another thing. We don't know exactly what the thing or even people, but just two different things. So when we talk about both A and B, we use both with countable nouns. So both cats and dogs, both of them, are friendly. Yes, my animals, again, kind of like my kids. My animals, I have 2 dogs and 1 cat, and they are all very friendly. So it's true that both cats and dogs are friendly, right? Second, Canada and the United States of America, USA, Canada and the USA are neighbors. So they live right next to each other, or they are right next to each other. Most people in both countries, okay, so both includes Canada and the United States in our example. So most people in both countries speak English. Our third, Google and Apple are the biggest computer companies in the world. Both companies are in California. So Google is in California, Apple is in California, both together, right? So that's both, and we use both with our countable nouns. Now, either is used to talk about one from 2 people or things. So when we're talking with our singular nouns, we either mean 2 people or 2 things. So either is used to talk about one from 2 people or things, and it should only be used with our singular nouns. Looking at our examples. I want to go to either Cuba, or we also pronounce it Cuba. I want to go to either Cuba or Jamaica for vacation. So this woman can't go to both. She can't go to both Cuba and Jamaica. She has to choose. I want to go to either Cuba or Jamaica for vacation. I can't decide, so I can't decide which country to choose. So she has to choose either Cuba or Jamaica, not both, one or the other. looking at our second example, what would you like to drink? And again, of course, our sentence starts with a capital. And in this example, again, it doesn't end with a period. It ends with a question mark because the woman at the counter is asking the gentleman a question. She's asking him, what would you like to drink? He answers, either coffee or tea, please. So, of course, that means that he would be perfectly fine and perfectly happy with coffee. He would be perfectly fine and perfectly happy with tea. He would be happy, he is glad to order either of them. So again, he's not ordering both. He's ordering either coffee or tea, either. And our last one, to take a Smrt class, so of course the curriculum that we use here, to take a Smrt class, you need either a computer or a tablet. So you don't need both, of course. You only use one at a time. So to take a Smrt class, you just need either a computer or a tablet or laptop, okay? Either one of those, perfectly fine. Right? Give me one moment. I'm going to check over in our comments. All right. Perfect. So, Mohammed, let me see. When do I use for vacation and on vacation? So, for vacation, I'm going someplace for vacation. I'm going to Jamaica for vacation. In the same way, if I'm understanding your question correctly, if you're talking about going, you could say, I'm going to Jamaica for vacation, or I'm going to Jamaica on my vacation. So in both ways, either could be used. Great question, Mohammed. Thank you so much for that. All right. Oh, Noor is jumping ahead. So very smart. Already asking the next question and our next point, which is, when do you use neither? We have both or either. When do we use neither? You are so smart. You are already jumping ahead. So we'll continue on and answer that question. When do we use neither? So neither means not A and not B. So neither thing or person, people we're talking about. Neither A or B. So neither is used to say not A or B. Not A, not B, neither of them. And it is also used with our singular nouns. And looking at our examples and our pictures for illustration, I don't want to go to Marcello's or Lombardo's. Neither restaurant is very good. Neither of them. So it means Marcello's is not and Lombardo's is not. Neither of them. Okay? So it's just like either, but the negation of it. And if it's helpful to remember, either and neither. So either means this one or this one. And that's either. And when we change, we add that N to make it neither. It's the negation. Not this one and not this one. As we see in our second example, my favorite animals at the zoo were the kiwis and penguins. But neither bird can fly. So that means kiwis can't fly and penguins can't fly. But they're both pretty cute. I bet a penguin would be a very good pet. I bet my dogs and cat would like a penguin for a friend. But of course we know we only see those at the zoo. And neither bird can fly. So penguins cannot, kiwis cannot. Okay, we will finish up the rest of this. We have just a few more rules and things to go over. So we will finish this up next week because I want, as always, to at least include a little bit of vocabulary because, as I always say, vocabulary is so very, very important because vocabulary is words. And the more words you know, the more you can say. And that opens you up to all the new possibilities of communication with other ESL, English as a second language, learners or native English speakers. Once more, the more vocabulary you know, the more words you know, the more you're able to say. So with that, we have about 15 minutes left, and join us next week. I'll finish the last few points in this lesson and do a little bit of review, but right now I want to jump over and finish up with some of our vocabulary. Once more, for our unit, this time we're talking largely about the natural world, about animals, but before we jump in there, I want to check the comment section one moment. Oh, Natish, great. You can take either you can take either tea or coffee. It means you take one of them. That's correct. You have two choices, coffee or tea, and you choose which one you want. You can choose either of them. Or if you don't like coffee and you don't like tea, you can choose neither of them. Or if you're really, really thirsty and you can't decide, of course, you could always have both. Great comment, great observation, my friend. Okay, wonderful. So, going to our vocabulary, this is just a quick review of the last word that we stopped on last week, plant. And as I said before, plant is one of those interesting words, but not uncommon words in English that can have more than one part of speech. So plant, first we have as a noun, as a thing. And our example, our illustration here, we have the little boy who is surrounded, he's in the garden, and there are a lot of different plants. So flowers, trees, bushes, those are all plants. Now, plant as a verb means to put in the ground, or put in the ground, or put in dirt to grow. So to plant something, you plant plants. So once more, I said this weekend in Spokane, every day was sunny. So both Saturday and Sunday, both of them were sunny. Beautiful weather, and I was able to get out in my yard and in my garden, and I planted some plants. So once more in review, plant can be both a noun and a verb. Protect. Protect. You should protect your bag. Someone might take it. So to protect just means to keep safe or to guard. And we know that yes, when you're in big cities especially, and there's lots of people around. So when I was in New York, I made sure to carry my bag in front of me, not over my shoulder where I couldn't see it, because in New York City, of course, it's so busy and there's so many people that it's a really good idea to protect your bag or your purse, keep it in front of you. That's just a way to guard it. And with that, guard and protect would be synonyms, so words that mean the same and that we can use interchangeably. So you should protect your bag, you should guard your bag. Just means keep it safe. Raise. All right. Now, in addition to words in English that can have more than one part of speech, we know, of course, that there are many words in English that they're either They either are spelled the same or they sound the same, but have two totally different meanings. With that, I find it helpful to always let my students know when we come across such words and we come across such examples that here's what we mean for our vocabulary. Be aware that you might hear the exact same word or a word that sounds exactly the same, maybe spelled differently, but it is pronounced or sounds exactly the same, but is in fact a totally different meaning. Here's a perfect example with raise. Just so you know, it's not for our vocabulary, but just so you know that you will also hear the word raise, as in to raise something up, okay, to lift something up. That would be R-I-S-E, or raise as in promotion at your job, or more money in what you are getting paid for, to get a raise in your job. Now, for our purposes, of course, in talking about animals in the natural world, they raise cows and sheep on their farm. If you were here a couple weeks ago, I talked about how I actually grew up on a farm. And yes, we did indeed raise our own cows and pigs. We had pigs. They're actually kind of cute animals. So growing up, my parents, our family on our farm, we raised cows and pigs. So raise just means to bring up or to grow up. So in the same way, if you're thinking and you're asking or you're interested in asking, so what about humans? What about children? Absolutely. We would also say for children or kids, you raise them up. So parents raise their children. All right, so that just means to bring up. Give me one moment. I'm going to check over in our comments. Wonderful. Okay. Rare. So rare would be an adjective that we would use to describe something that is not common. We'd say it's rare or it's uncommon. So looking at this beautiful animal, it's pretty rare. It's fairly rare. It's pretty rare to see a snow leopard these days. So there's our beautiful snow leopard, and as we know, there's not a whole lot left in the world. Their population or their numbers are declining, are getting lower, so that it's rare, it's uncommon to see a snow leopard, right? So rare means uncommon, or don't normally see snow leopards. It's rare. Safe. And again, one of our homophones, so those are words that sound the same or are pronounced the same, but totally different meanings. Safe, you might also hear used as a noun, as a safe. Banks have safes to protect the money or their money. So a safe is a noun. It's they're usually square or rectangle, and they are big boxes that lock, right? Or even in some huge banks, they can be entire rooms that have a main door that locks. And they're called safes simply because they keep money or they keep things that are valuable. They keep these things safe. Which brings us to safe as we are using it within our vocabulary. The chickens are not safe on the farm because there are many wolves around. So safe, protected, right? Poor chickens, they're at risk, okay? Saying that wolves, these chickens aren't safe. There's wolves around. And as we see from our illustration, these wolves are very hungry. So the chickens are not safe. They're not protected. We could say they are in danger, right? So safe. Seaweed. Seaweed is a noun and it is part of one of my absolute favorite foods. What we see here as our example and our illustration is sushi, S-U-S-H-I. Don't need to know that word for our vocabulary, but that is what this food is called. It is traditional in Japan, very popular in Japan and parts of Asia, and very, very popular here in the United States as well. And sushi is made with seaweed. So that's the kind of dark brown, maybe even dark green that is wrapped around the seaweed. All right. And seaweed literally is just, you can think of it, weeds from the sea. When we take the word apart and think about its literal sense, and we know that weeds are just plants that grow in gardens or grow in yards or grow places, but they grow very, very fast and they're not plants that have actually been planted. Okay? They're just plants that come up on their own and sometimes will get rid of the other plants. So weeds, we would say, are prolific. That's just a big fancy word for there's a lot of them. And seaweed, it's just weeds from the sea or from the ocean, from water. So sushi usually has rice, fish, and seaweed. Do you like it? There again is our sentence ending with a question. So do you like it? I absolutely love it. I love sushi and I love seaweed. So there we go. Seaweed is a noun. Shelter. We see this picture of this poor dog, this poor pup. So shelter is a noun. It's a place. And in particular for our vocabulary, when we talk about shelter, we're talking about a place where homeless animals go. So you can almost think orphaned animals. Animals, dogs, cats, usually dogs and cats, but it really can be any animal that doesn't have a home, right? This is where they're kept, at a shelter. But what's very good is that you can go and, using our very first vocabulary word, adopt. You can go to a shelter and adopt an animal. So that means take them home with you, make them part of your family. And if they are very, very lucky and spoiled, like my animals, then every night they'll get up in bed with you and lay there while you read. That's something that I enjoy every night. And in fact, one of my dogs did come from a shelter and I adopted him. So shelter, noun, it is a place where animals that don't have homes go. But what's happy ending is they don't always have to stay at a shelter forever. You, of course, can adopt them. Using one of our vocabulary words, of course, adopt. You can bring them home with you. All right, so we are 1 minute away from finishing, or we would say wrapping up, but I want to check any of our comments or questions. Leo says, a shelter is a safe place for animals. Yes, absolutely. Shelter is a safe place for animals. And also, again, at large, shelter for our purposes, for our vocabulary, we're talking about a place for animals. But shelter can really be just any place that's safe, okay? If it's raining or snowing and you're outside and you're getting cold or rained on, you can find shelter. Find shelter from the wind or the rain. So just a safe place. And yes, and Rosa asked that question, is shelter a safe place? Absolutely. It's a place where you're safe. In our example, a place where animals are safe. So, just finishing up, looking at our comments and questions, and once more, as always, my apologies if I'm not always able to get to your comments or your questions, because there's so many wonderful students that join us every week. All you wonderful students have wonderful comments or questions, so our live feed just goes very quickly. So with that, if there's any comments or questions that you would like to post, I'll do my best to get to those. Just scroll down to the bottom of the video and post your questions. And while you're there, if you enjoyed this week's video and you enjoy the Smrt Live classes, give us a thumbs up. And I'm giving the thumbs up to all of you. Thanks so much for joining. Once more, thank you for all your wonderful comments and questions. It really is a joy for me every week to see all of you signing on and all my wonderful friends and students from all over the world. So I give you guys thumbs up as well. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your morning, your evening, morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are in the world. And I will hopefully see you next week for more Smrt Live. I'm Miss Abby. Have a wonderful day.